All right, welcome back. Um, Whenever you're ready for what's that, Jay-Z?
Hey, how's it going?
Yeah, we're back. We're ready to bring Aaron in once
Let's
you
go,
are.
man. Let's get it going.
Oh
There
boy.
he is. What's up, dude?
Hey guys, how are you?
Good, buddy. Welcome to the show, man. Thanks for taking out your time here. I know it's getting late, so we won't keep you too long, or another 2 hours, whichever. Um, we'll find out, I guess. So, appreciate you taking the time again, man. I like to start every guest kind of background a little bit because I really don't know your background a ton until the last few years. So I'm not a
Mm.
big I assume you did 600 micros or 270s, maybe. I assume, but I don't know that. I don't get to a lot of 600 or 270 shows or speedsters. You kind of burst onto the scene here a little bit. So tell us a little bit about your background and what got you here. I know you don't have a huge history because you're not a veteran guy at this point, but tell us
Mm.
a little bit about your history, man, and how you got to today.
Yeah, I feel like when someone asks me that, I tell a different story every time. So,
Well, tell us the real one. Tell us the truth.
so my family is does not come from racing.
Okay.
So the only reason I race is because of my dad. Like my dad's side doesn't come from racing, and my mom's side doesn't. So my dad raced when he was a kid in a 270 by himself. When he was 16, and I think he stopped when he was 18 years old. So he's always liked racing. So he's the one that got me into it. He got me my first quarter midget when I was 6 years old, and I ran at Phoenixville for a pretty long time. Um, and then we ran on pavement with the USAC tour up until I was 14 years old. So we went all along the East Coast, like to Indy, Michigan, Georgia, um, all that stuff. And then I did that till I was like 14, and then we got our first micro. We got a hyper, and we always sticked with hypers. So, and we didn't venture outside of Pennsylvania with the micro. Like we didn't do the races in Ohio or Indy just because our business here. And once you get out of quarter midgets, it gets so much more expensive. So you kind of got to start watching what you're doing. So we stayed in PA, and I ran micros until I was 18 or 19. We got 14 feature wins in the micro. And then, so yeah, then we sold everything and we got a 410 right away. Um, we actually went and looked at a 358 first. I forget the guy's name, but he was selling out of everything. And we did not get the 358 because at that time they were wanting to switch. They were running 3x5 wings, and they were wanting to switch to 5x5s. So we didn't know what was going to happen there. So we just said, well, why don't we just get a 410 and run Lincoln every Saturday night, just focus there. And we didn't put any stress on ourselves because we'll just run there whenever we can. So that's what we did.
Man, so I like that. Those stories are crazy to me. Like, I don't think that'll ever not be insane to me. That like racing a race car in any competitive environment is badass. Like, I'm a
Yeah.
fan, been a fan my whole life, watching all forms. But it'll never cease to amaze me going from like a 600 micro to a 410. Like you could, yeah, there might have been a gap in between like the days you drove, but let's say it's a month. Let's say it's I don't care how long. Did it feel like you were going 9,000 miles per hour the first time you jumped in it?
I don't know. I want to say yeah, but it didn't because I don't know why it didn't. It just kind of came naturally, but I don't want to say it came naturally either because it's not like I was good right off the bat. Luckily, I didn't tear too much stuff up though. I tore the most stuff up this previous year for some odd reason.
This
Maybe
past year.
probably because I was getting more comfortable.
I
But
mean, yeah, you get more aggressive as you get more comfortable, right? You take more
yeah, and that's when you
chances
start
and
tearing stuff up.
kind of learn the limits of where you're at. So you had some success in the micro, jumped into the 410, and you concentrated on Lincoln. And 2022 was your third or second full year?
Probably my third full year.
Third full
Yeah.
year. So I kind of watched all three of those years a little bit, from a distance, and I got to know you a little bit more this past season a little bit as I got more involved in the pit area and
Mhm.
kind of watching everybody's journey. But like you stand out to me as one of those guys who we don't have to say, "Hey, go faster." Like you're not that guy, right? Like
Right.
I put you in that kind of like group now. Like I'm not comparing you in any way to wins or finishes or stats, but like a guy we don't have to be like, "Hey, man, you got to go harder." Like a Dylan Norris, yourself, a Jaden Wolf, like even like Riley Emig. Like we don't have to be like, "Hey, bud, you got to pick up the pace." You guys are 100%. So I think maybe 2021 there was a feature you led most of the race, like at Lincoln, and I'm telling you, it felt like it was 20 time trial laps, just balls to the wall,
I remember
ripping.
that. That was crazy stupid.
And I don't remember I don't remember how that ended up, but man, that stood out to me. Like this kid's going to win some races. Like this guy's going to get after it, and I think that is kind of evolved. And even if 2022 didn't go in the plans as
Mm.
far as successes or wins or in the stat column, I agree with you. And sometimes you got to find that limit, and I think you
Right.
found it this year a little bit. And I watched a lot of turn 2, 3, and 4 at Lincoln this year, and you were on the limit a lot, and you're that
Mm.
one of those guys. So where 2022 was some struggle, but where do you feel like you are in your point of your career with three seasons under your belt, going into number 4? Where do you feel like you are as far as learning and ready to win? I mean, everybody wants to win every week they show up, but it's not easy. So where do you feel like you are right now?
Where do I feel like I'm at? And I don't know. I feel like we're gonna be in a good place this year. I mean, everybody says that every single year, but I feel like we'll have a decent year. Um, I don't know. I don't know why last year wasn't as successful as I thought. I think we just tried so many different things because of what we learned in previous years, and we were just trying to get that much better. And then we kind of screwed stuff up, and you kind of get in that rut. Um, and then I kind of got back into the groove. I got a different shock package, and then for the rest of the year, last year, halfway to the end, I got better and kind of got on a roll again. I actually like took notes for once. Usually, if I don't feel like it's worth taking notes, I won't even jot anything down. So I don't know, June to the end, I took a ton, and I feel like I have a lot to lean on this year, and I think we're going to get a good place. But again, I can say that this whole interview, but when it comes time to do the deal, who knows? You know what I mean? But
Well, this time of the year, you're it's like an NFL team before the season starts, right? Everybody's leading a division. So
right,
at this point, you haven't lost a race and you haven't won a race. There's not a lot to lose at this point. But
right.
are you a guy? You said about taking notes. Are you a guy who might go back and watch film of the races now that we have, Flow and Dirt Vision? I know you did some Williams Grove, and we'll get into that in a minute
Yeah.
here. But like, let's say on Flow, are you a guy who goes back and reviews like whatever you can see of yourself on camera, or maybe even if it's not you, but do you just see? Are you a student of the game? Let's say.
Yeah, that's a good question with the flow there because a lot of the times they don't film you, especially if you're not leading. So
Right.
I try and watch as much of that as I can. I try and watch more in-car video because for me as a driver, I can really see what's going on. I have some in-car with loose, and that did help me a little bit. Um, I watch more of a lot of other guys' stuff too, just seeing how the car is balanced and everything else. That's just kind of how I learn.
And have you noticed an evolution in the last couple of years in how people are balancing their cars? Because, like,
Yes.
again, I'm not a driver, I'm not a team, I'm just a fan, and I've noticed a lot. I feel like these cars are getting more right rear heavy than they have been in previous years a little bit, especially at Lincoln. Now, maybe
Yeah.
there's some other tracks that's true, and again, maybe you can like actually be the pro and tell me, but I feel like some guys are kind of getting these things leaned on the right rear a little bit more than they ever have in the last few years. What are you seeing?
And I don't know. That's a good point with a lot on the right rear because every person, every driver has their own opinion. I haven't ran at Williams Grove in my own stuff to tell you, but I can say that a lot of guys like right rear weight there for some reason. Um, Now Lincoln, I found I was getting faster when I started getting a lot more rebound on my shock on the left rear. So I don't know. It's weird. I have no idea, but like you said about the whole balancing thing, it seems like everybody is pretty spot on in PA. Like the whole field is pretty dang even. And
It,
I
it
think a lot of that has to do with newer shock packages coming out, adjustable shocks, double adjustable stuff. And if you get shocks from Slade or FK, they get you in the ballpark with their sheets pretty much right out of the bat. So, man, my personal opinion, shocks are 60% of how the sprint car handles in today's age or more.
And I've been hearing that a lot here, especially probably the last 2 years, last year, 2021, 2022, maybe even going back to 2020, that, the real innovation in the sport right now is shocks. And everybody else has a lot of the stuff figured out pretty close. You maybe there's something in motors, but you got to have all the money, right? Or
Yes.
the rest of the stuff, for the most part, it's kind of figured out a little bit. Now, a tire compound change could change a lot this season, right? And what's worked and what didn't. But it sounds like the overwhelming thing I keep hearing is shocks, and
Yeah.
get it tuned for the right track, and having these manufacturers get it tuned. So you said you made a shock change. What was your change to? Who did you go with to the second half here?
So we were always with Slade. I think he's out of North Carolina, maybe Indiana, but I never had adjustable shocks. I never had good knowledge with shocks by the time I started career midgets. Obviously, you're not going to. You're young. Even in my micros, for some reason, my mind just couldn't comprehend a dyno sheet. It was just so intimidating to me. And then when I first started sprint cars, it was still we didn't have any adjustable shocks, and that probably hurt us. But and then I had one guy come and help me at the racetrack one night. And it was a huge eye opener. He's like, "Man, you got to get to be able to adjust with these shocks through the night." And so I did that, and that was this previous year. Actually, the race I led all the laps in when I came second to Macri, that was my first night on a new shock package. So I got a left front adjustable, a left rear, and a right rear, and that changed our whole program. It changed the whole balance of the race car. It's amazing what a different valving can do.
Did you know it right away? Did you feel it right away?
Practice instantly.
And so, is there like a thing where, like, oh wow, that's confidence, right? We talked to Jordan Givler a few weeks back about that, and he made a switch to FKs. I think the Billy Kimmel race at the Grove, and I told him, I said, from observing, I was on his trailer that night, just kind of watching with Dakota and the crew a little bit, and I said, I could see him driving more confidence, and he said, well,
Right.
it was that, and the car did, like, it went faster, like
Right.
it was better. So like. It's amazing to me that change can be that dramatic in a sport when everything is so close. Like, you guys are all like so close. You look at time trials and you look at features and how much like everybody's on top of each other at every place around here. There's not a huge disparity anymore between, like, first and 16th. Like,
No.
I think at Lincoln, I feel like there's 10 plus guys who could win if you're starting on the front row and things go right, or more, right? So, like, to have something go one night to the next, put these things on, push the buttons, do the things, do the dials, and boom. It just amazes me in 2022, 2023 that something can make that big of a difference. Now, this past year, you said you tore up a lot of equipment.
Yeah, good bit of it.
What did you learn?
Just don't do it. I don't know. I don't think I learned anything. Like, you still got to be aggressive, right? I mean, the first one I tore up was actually in Westbrook's car when I was still running for him. It wasn't even my fault. I started in the back and there was a big pile up, and I just got into it. We tore the car up. And then I think the next week, actually, that was completely my fault. We were running 7th and I tagged the fence and I went flipping. And then, man, the week after, my drag link stud snapped going into turn 3. So I knew steering. And that's when I went head on to the wall. And that was a new chassis. So that completely destroyed it. But what you said, what did I learn? Nothing.
So it wasn't a lot of self errors. Like, you might have had one, but everybody's doing error. Like, nobody's perfect, but sometimes it's just bracing, right? Like, that's just, we know that's a part of it. And I'm fairly certain I was at the Williams Grove both weeks back to back, and I think I was standing right beside you guys. I was maybe with Jordan or somebody's trailer or Troy. And I like, the car rolled in and I'm like, oh my God, I felt so bad. Like, this thing is destroyed. And, like, it's a tough deal no matter how it is. And especially, Westbrook, he brings that car out on Friday nights, right? He kind of lives for Friday night when it's out there racing, and to bring that thing back on a wrecker and on a
I felt horrible. It sucks.
It sucks, man. It's just kind of a shitty deal. So what we just talked to Mike a little bit there about goals and goal setting. And have you kind of set goals in a 410 each year you've gone into the season?
Not really. I'm just the kind of guy that just goes out there and gives them all, and whatever happens, happens. Um, and I never really set goals. I feel like if we just work our butts off and I don't know, put all our focus into it, you'll get the results, and then your personal goals in your mind will show. So,
Yeah, I agree. And I think it's perspective a little bit on like,
mm,
hey, I've always talked about goals in like my own career, like SMART goals, right?
yeah,
Specific, measurable, attainable, relevant. What's the T, Chris? Remember the T? Trackable, right? And like in racing, it's kind of one of them deals where you're not a veteran guy in the 410 rank. So it's like, okay,
mm,
I'm still learning. We're still, like you said last year, it was sort of like chasing it, right? We got something and then we just chased it all season. And it's hard to get back to zero when you go to the racetrack the next weekend and go, okay, stop. Let's
right,
start here. And you feel
yeah,
like you're starting over when you're like, damn, we have 3-4 months of progress. But even though we're struggling to go backwards, I can understand the mental side of it. Where do you stand with that? Like, you seem like a pretty easy guy to kind of get over the last week.
hmm.
Does that weigh on you, or are you pretty good at like kind of wiping away everything and going, hey, new week, new me?
No, it's definitely new week, new me. Because if you worry about it, it's just going to affect not only the next race you go to, but it's just going to affect your whole work week, your life. So, I, man, if something bad happens, I'll be down Sunday morning washing the car. I'll be the grumpiest guy at the house. But then Monday morning, go to work. You just got to forget about it and go to the next race. And even if you're on the highest of high, you know, that next week, you could win one Saturday in Lincoln and then go just the next Saturday race and you finish dead last and you're going to make the show. So you just kind of got to stay humble and just not worry about it.
We made fun of Brett Strickler for doing that. He his first career 410 race, he made the feature, and the next week didn't make the race at all. So we made
Yeah.
fun of him for that. Still will, by the way, Brett, if you're listening or watching. Um, that threw me off track because I make fun of Brett. Chris, what questions do you have?
Uh, he's Aaron's going to have answering them, and you kind of threw out the goal question. So looking ahead, what's your schedule? Is it strictly Lincoln for most of the season, or you got to bounce around?
I don't know. I never put a schedule together because I don't know. I feel like if I put a schedule out, I'm not going to follow it anyway when I post on social media. So we'll just stick right now to Lincoln, and we are searching for a motor. There's so many out there, but there's one that our engine builder's trying to get done, but they cannot get parts for it. It's not ours right now. It's I think it's Mike Wagner's, but I don't know what they're going to do with it. If Mike's going to keep it or not. So if we get that third motor, we'll probably run that on and off of Williams Grove. And if we don't acquire it, then we'll just run Lincoln and Baps. And I'd like to do Grandview. That'd be pretty cool to do Grandview again. Um, but yeah, no schedule. So
So you mentioned a couple times about work, and I see Bollinger on the side of the car. Are you in the family business? What is the family business? Tell me a little bit about all that.
yep, yeah, I'm in the family business. My dad started it probably 30 years ago now. Bollinger Septic Services. So we're into the crappy business. We pump septics out. So we service them, empty them out. And then we also have probably 150 portable restrooms. And then so that's what I do full time come summertime because I get so busy with it. Then I'll help my dad's Friday when I'm free. And then that's it. That's our business. And it's just me, my mom, and my dad. We have no employees. So
Um, with you said 30 years in the business. What did he do before you got involved? It was just him and your mom, and you guys they just went at it like that, and they said, "Hey, we had a kid. He's free labor."
yeah, right. Um, Yeah, no. Well, when my dad first started, I think he tried with a whole employee deal, and man, it takes a special person to own a business and have a bunch of employees. It's just a lot of stress, there's stuff getting
Yeah.
tore up, and can't trust people. So we kind of went to that route where it was just us.
And
So
sometimes it's the safest way, and
yeah,
not
but
that
after
protecting it, but it's hard to grow at times too, right? And that
yes,
trust is tough.
yes, and we're happy where we're at anyway with it. I mean, we do what our means are. I think we do fairly well. So, but with what you said, I was never always working full time for them. After high school, I worked on a midget team for a couple weeks because I just wanted to give it a try and see how I liked kind of not racing, just working on race cars. And I didn't like that, so I came back home and now I'm back here, and I like what I do. So I can't get any more freer of a schedule. I'm on my own time. Um, there's no rush getting anything done. So I mean, in the summertime, it is a pretty loaded schedule, but and I can't complain. I just work all day and come home and work on race cars in the summer. So
Doesn't sound that bad to me. Who helps you out with the team? You said your dad did a little bit of racing, but not a huge racing background family. So as you got into 410s, man, it can take a monumental effort sometimes. And I know obviously you're putting a lot of your own time in. And I'm sure mom and dad help at points, but who helps you weekends at the track and getting this thing ready and hauling it up and down the road?
yeah, it's just us. It's just me and my dad that work on the car. My mom does the merchandise. We have a really good friend. We actually met doing a job, emptying his septic tank out, and it turns out he was into racing when he was younger. So he's been going with us now. This is going to be his third year. He goes with us just to the races, and he is a big help on tires and fuel and everything else. Um, but yeah, man, it's just us, and it is a lot of work, especially when it's race season. It's like, I mean, sometimes you could wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning to go to work, and you're not done till 10, 11 o'clock at night in the garage. It's just a ton of man hours. So it is stressful. It wears you out.
And it's good you're young because you race a lot. I mean,
Yeah,
I've seen you race. I don't know, maybe 40 times this year, and I might have gone to 40 races. So
yeah,
I think you were at every race. No, not quite. You didn't run a lot of Port Royal, so I made it to I don't know 10 Port races maybe this year, last past year, maybe a couple more. But um, what if you may not have put a lot of thought into this, and I think that sounds like kind of getting to know you a little bit and learning. It's kind of sounds like, hey man, we'll just show up and use the right pedal a whole lot. So
mhm.
not a ton of thought into it. I mean, you definitely do. It's not like you're not thinking, but what would you put yourself in? What kind of stylistic driver have you thought about? Like kind of who you are? Or you're just like, hey man, that's an open lane. I'm going there and see what happens, or like not to compare, no one compares himself to anyone else. You are you, you're Aaron, you
Right.
do you. But if you had some sort of style, would you name your style of driving?
I don't know if I can name it. That's a really good question. That's a hard question to answer. I don't know. Track surface wise, I've never been that good on slick tracks. I feel like I'm getting better, getting the car more better. I prefer, and you can, some people can almost see it when the track's wet and heavy, tacked up with a big cushion. I'm way better because it's like no direction, dude. It's just hammer down and whatever happens, happens. That's just kind of my style. And not really whatever happens, happens. I mean, it's just, I still have like a direction, but I am definitely better when there is a cushion and it's just flat out for sure.
Yeah, I agree, and I'm gonna give you that moniker, that comparison, that something is like Sheldon Haudenschild because you're a crazy person. Like
Yeah.
I don't know if I'd have the intestinal fortitude to do some of the things I've seen you do in a race car when it's heavy and there's a curb, and like it's awesome. Like I'm a fan. I enjoy watching you race, make a 410 do like work at 100% of its capacity when the track is like that. And I think what I've seen over the years, probably in observation, is experience in that slick track and the slower stuff is experience and laps and seat time and figuring out, man, like going slower is faster sometimes, probably, right? And I
Yeah.
don't know if you have that yet, just
Yeah.
because you're like, I like to go fast, like Ricky
Right.
Bobby style, right? So, and that is perfectly acceptable, and you're going to win races doing that at some point. But I also think there's a balance to it, and I think that comes with age, experience, and
Right. It
time.
does. Yeah.
410s aren't easy. Like if it was easy, yeah, everybody would do it, and it's
Yeah.
not freaking easy.
But back to what you said earlier with how good everybody else is, like it's almost like when the track's tacky now in PA, like I feel like the field's kind of changing into a bunch of young kids now. Not kids, but I
It's
feel
getting
like half
younger.
the field is younger guys and they're all on the hammer and they're crazy. So I
I,
feel like it's kind of the new style right now.
so have you found in your times at Lincoln, right? So we'll just use Lincoln because that's where you've had the most laps. Is it easier to race in the top five, or is it easier to race in the middle back of the pack?
Definitely probably up front because Lincoln's kind of like that paperclip racetrack and maybe if there's a long green flag run, it doesn't matter where you're at, but it's definitely easier to race up front, more clean air. If you're back there in the middle, like 10th on back, there's a lot going on. So
I feel like I see those guys, 10th on back when I see you guys kind of battling with each other. You can be driving harder than the next guy and you're not making up any ground
yeah,
on
I
the
don't know
next
why
guy.
that is either. But then when you're up front, you're pulling away like crazy.
And I think it has to do with that dirty air for sure. I
Yeah,
mean, you,
it
you
does.
drive it harder and harder and harder, and the guy that's just putting around the bottom, you guys come off the corner even, and you're like, what the hell did I put all that effort in for?
Yeah.
Cars get on the right, you just don't have any of that good air. So it's kind of like, what can you do to start inside the top 10 every
But
week,
it's weird to talk about dirty air because like there was an all-star race we were in. I don't know if it was a Kramer Clash or the Dirt Classic maybe, but we ran good. We made the show and we were in the top 10, but I didn't feel dirty air because I think when you get to that caliber of drivers, they're all going like the same speed. There's like no speed difference. They're all hauling ass. But then
Yeah.
on a local night, it's weird. There's just some guys are going a different speed than others, and I think that's when it starts to affect you.
Well, and I think too, when you get to that top 10 area, you all have a little bit of space, and
Yeah.
every other car is in the other lane because they know, why would I follow this guy on the top when
Mhm.
the bottom is now open, two cars in front of me? There's more air there. So it's almost like they pick their lanes top, bottom, top, bottom, top, bottom.
Yeah.
Where in the middle of the pack, it's four of you on the cushion and four of you on the bottom in a
Yeah.
hornet's nest. Right. So I
And then
think
we're
that,
not going anywhere.
and they're not going anywhere. It's just a
Yep.
barrier. So it's like, man, you look at the end of the season, you see these reviews of like average starting position where winners came from.
Mhm.
You got to be in the top 10. Like you got to figure out a way to start in the top 10
Every week.
around
Yeah.
here every week to have a shot.
And at Lincoln, and well, pretty much everywhere in PA. I don't know about Port Royal because we don't go up there, but in Lincoln, unless it's a qualifying race, it is extremely hard to win if you're high in points because say like you win a feature, the next week you're going to start like dead last in the heat race. And there's some guys that come from dead last up to a transfer spot in the heat, but it's just that format makes it extremely hard to start in the top 10 every week.
It does. And format's
Mhm.
been a big topic around here for years and years and years. And there's no good way to do it. Ultimately the tracks want entertainment. So people show up. The
Mhm.
racers want to say, listen, I'm a top 5 guy. I want to start in the top 5.
Yep.
The track's going, no. You're a top 5 guy and you need to start in the top 15 because we want you to go past cars and put on a show. And you're like, hey, wait a minute. No, I'm not here to start 15th and finish 7th. Like that's the competition's good. So it's always this battle against kind of like drivers, fans, and promoters, and
Yeah.
like what is the best way to do it? Because listen, if I'm a Danny Dietrich, right, and I have 8 wins in a season, why the hell would I want to show up and start 12th when I went out and won my heat? Like because I won last week, went out and won my heat, I'm starting 12th.
And that kind of
I'd feel some kind of way.
Yeah, that comes back to what I just said too. It kind of proves me wrong with Danny because he was starting the back of the heats and he was kicking our
Well,
butts. So.
he is an alien sometimes.
Yeah.
So
But
Yes.
Lincoln is having, I think, 13 qualifying shows this year, I believe. So
does
I'm
that suit
excited
your
for that.
style? Does that suit your style a little better?
I don't know if it suits my style, but I like it better because at least I have a chance of earning my spot up front in a heat race. You know what I mean?
Earning it, right?
Right.
Yes.
So
And so
it's
if you're good in qualifying, you're earning your whole night.
so it
Whereas
sounds like you would
sometimes
prefer every weekly show just have some form of time trial.
at this point where we're at, I would prefer every race to be a qualifying show. Right? I don't know why, but I just maybe because I hate starting in the back of a heat race every week.
What do you think about that BAPS format with the timed hot lap heat kind of deal?
I like it, but like last time we went, I was with Buddy Kofoid, Brent Marks, Danny. I think Macri was in my heat, so it was like I didn't even run that bad of a time. But for them guys, they killed us. So
Of course, right?
It's like being
Of
in top
course.
split there.
but no, I'm excited for Lincoln's qualifying shows. I feel like we're kind of getting a little better at qualifying. Um, I feel like we're getting somewhere with the package we have for it. I go out and qualifying a little different with everything, just with shocks and gear sometimes. So I'm excited to just kind of nitpick at it a little bit and try and get a little faster.
And this year, I feel you got to figure it out quick, right? The Outlaws are in town awfully early this year.
Yeah, what probably May or something.
No, March. The
Oh
Outlaws are
yeah,
in town in March
and we
with the
gotta
new.
and we have to run that fire suppression deal too.
and that. So, are you an icebreaker guy?
I don't know. I couldn't answer that. My parents are going on vacation here the first week of February, and they're getting back the 12th, I think. So we'll see. We don't have our motors back yet, so that all depends.
That
Oh.
turns out you need those to
They're,
race.
they're kind of important.
Yeah.
Who knew?
Yeah. Right.
Who knew? So, what if
But
you
no rush
had?
to icebreaker because it is February. It's super cold.
It's a weird deal, man,
Yeah.
because like there aren't many drivers I've been like, bro, I can't wait. But all of us are
I
like,
never say
I
that.
want to see a race car. I want to see race cars go fast and be loud.
And
We're
I
all his
enjoy,
fans.
yeah. And just because it's kind of like me and my dad working on it, like it is kind of almost like your job. You are working your butt off with the race car. So I'd much rather work on it in 70 degrees than 30 degrees.
You're not wrong. I'd
Yeah.
rather watch you in 70 degrees than watch in 30.
Like,
But
imagine watching that thing in the morning at the car wash when it's cold out. Like,
no. I
sucks.
mean,
Nobody
I work at a
wants
car
that.
dealership, so I kind of get it. It's
Yeah.
mostly inside, but it's still miserable. It's like after a snowstorm at a car dealership, like the day of work we have afterward, it's just a nightmare.
Well, that stuff like fans don't think about. It sucks come that time of year.
Listen, I went with Kyle Keene. Okay, friends with Kyle. Went to Bedford the year he ran 305s. We went out to I think it was Bedford. Is that the one that's downhill down the front stretch and uphill up the back?
I think I've never been there,
Bedford?
but they say it's pretty different racetrack.
Very different. And like he lives, an hour and 20 minutes north of where I live. So I got up there early, get the car, do the thing, and I was a crew guy for the day. I mean, I don't know shit, but I'm scraping
Right.
the mud and looking good. I'm the security guard for the team, but we get there, do the race, do the thing, and pack up and head home and I got home at like 3 a.m. and I got to his house at 6 a.m. I'm like,
Yeah.
I didn't do shit today, but I'm exhausted. Like I can't even imagine the work that you're driving, you're getting the truck and you're getting the car ready all week. And then no matter how the night went, you get to tear it apart in maintenance, it good, bad, or indifferent, wrecked or not. Do you ever just walk in there, open the door, or do whatever, and you're like, oh.
Yeah.
Do you have those moments?
I don't have those moments when we're running good, but if we're not running good, it is very depressing. Yes, I definitely do have those moments.
It's got to be tough, bro.
Yeah, but I just kind of try and get over it and just keep working, man.
So a few months ago, Port Royal came out on iRacing, and I didn't know you were an iRacing guy until I saw you on iRacing that night. We ran some Port Royal laps together and threw some cool sliders at each other. Turns out that's the slow line. Don't do that. As we all have come to found out that you just wall ride at Port Royal to go fast. But how much iRacing do you get in? You seem like a pretty busy guy with the schedule.
It's funny you say that. I was doing it for a while, and my steering wheel was right beside me here, and it broke. So I don't know what happened. Like if I turn it on, all it does is just spin. So I think a sensor's broken it or something.
We're gonna have to have one of the iRacing pros come up there and help you fix that thing.
I need like a $200 sponsor to buy a new Thrustmaster.
Where do you live? Where's the shop and the house out of? What part of the country?
We are in Birdsboro, Pennsylvania. Probably 20 minutes away from Reading. Okay. And the shop is our house garage right now.
So, did you race Bridgeport?
No, I did not.
Any interest?
Yeah, for sure. I might be wrong, but I think Bridgeport's kind of like a weird day, isn't it? When they usually race, maybe.
Well,
not.
The one in the fall there was very strange.
Like a Tuesday.
I went to the. Well, they did the thing in October there. It was over the weekend, but it was just the format was really, really odd. Like I saw the same three guys on the track throughout the day, and I'm like, I don't know why they're out here. Yeah. But I think they're going to have a high limit show, I believe, right? So, have you kept up with that at all? What are your thoughts on the high limit?
Honestly, I haven't much. I've seen the schedule. I can look at my phone, but I don't even really know where they're going, to be honest.
I mean, I brought up Bridgeport, but they're going to be at Grandview.
Yeah, I would like to do that.
Like Grandview, Bridgeport are the most local to us. I mean, I think that with your interest, you said about Grandview, and you're not that far from Bridgeport. I don't know how far that is from you.
Grandview, we're not far from. It's not close, but it's the closest track we would go to.
So you got opportunities at Grandview. There's a speed week race. You have a high limit race. There's a couple all-star races. I mean, you got some opportunity to potentially put some laps in there this year.
Yeah, I see the schedule. I don't see the full schedule though. But here it is. Bridgeport. It's 23,000 to win too. They all are.
Yeah.
There's 50,000 too. Yeah, I'd like to go Grandview for sure.
That'd be cool. So, if you had to win, this is usually Chris's question. Actually, you know what, Chris? I want you to ask this question.
All right. So what he's going to ask us, if you had to pick a race to win, what race would it be and why?
Oh man, I have no idea. That's a hard. You guys ask hard questions.
Well, that's why we're here, my guy. I want you to think about these things and say, look, my bucket list, I'm going to win what
I don't
race?
know. I would say National Open. I
I
want to
like
say
it.
Knoxville, but I feel like anyone else that came on here would say Knoxville, so I'll say National Open at Williams Grove.
You'd be surprised.
Nobody said Knoxville yet.
Nobody that we've interviewed yet has
Right.
said Knoxville.
Oh
It's
yeah,
been the Weichert, the
White first
National
one was
Open,
National Open a couple times.
Dirt
maybe like an
Classic.
outlaw.
Dirt
Even
Classic.
yeah, yeah, Dirt Classic. I'd like to win the Dirt Classic too. That whole vibe there is pretty cool with that race. Place is just packed. And
Yeah. How you ran? Did you run the Outlaw race last year at Lincoln in May?
I believe so. Yeah.
So, did you have any opinion, emotion about Jacob Allen winning that deal? Was that pretty cool to you? I mean, you're a young guy, but you're a Central PA guy. You grew up
Yeah.
around here. Did that have any effect or emotion for you?
I would like to say yeah, but not really. I mean,
Yeah.
not in a bad way at all.
Yeah.
But I didn't even know who Jacob Allen was until they went into the Outlaw deal or Logan Schuchart. So I mean, it's cool because they're from around there, and the fans love it. So I guess my answer would be I guess I'd rather see him win that race since he's kind of from the area than someone like I don't know
Anyone
Gravel
else?
or Shots.
Anyone
Or,
else?
yeah.
Any other
else?
outlaw that's not from Central PA? So good
Right.
answer, Aaron. Well done, sir. You passed the test.
Right.
So you don't seem like a huge historian of the sport. Kind of going back. I mean, like you said, your family isn't you're not third generation racer. What? And that's okay, by the way. Like I think it's almost refreshing that you're kind of like, hey, I'm gonna show up on Saturday and use the right foot and go get at it. So
Gotta
I'm
gas it
okay
up.
with that. What you seem like a pretty busy guy with the schedule with work, family business, doing whatever, but you also have a little bit of freedom. Any other hobbies? What do you like to do? What do you like to non-racing related?
Man, I like to go hunting. My hobbies, we don't even find much time to do them anymore. But when I get the chance, like I said, I like to go hunting. We did that a little bit this year, maybe for a week. And I like to go fly fishing when I get the chance in the summer. That's usually like when I do, it's like Sunday and the sun is setting. So, but I do like fishing.
So where are your parents going on vacation?
They're gonna go on a cruise. They're going on a Carnival cruise. Um, I couldn't tell you what islands they're going to though.
That's okay. They're going south where it's warm, right?
Yeah, and I think my mom and dad, I think are going to watch one race of Volusia. I think when the Outlaws are there.
Oh,
Yeah,
I want to go.
so I'm thinking about going down for 2 nights, but I'll see.
That'd be
Um,
pretty cool.
so there's a guy I know down there that's working on Sam Haferteep's crew. And I asked if I could go hang out, so I might go hang out. I'll see though, because
Hell
I mean I
yeah.
don't know what the flight tickets are. You know they're getting expensive. So
You're not wrong. So if you had to pick any vacation spot anywhere, where would you go?
this sounds crazy, but St. Kitts and Nevis.
One more time.
St. Kitts and Nevis.
What is that?
I mean, let me look it up on Google. I was there once, and it's
Oh,
absolutely beautiful. It's not owned by the United States,
sounds about right.
so I thought it was one of those deals. I thought I was going to die when I was there because one, it's not owned by the United States, and
And you want to go back. That sounds
like, well,
logical,
like
Aaron.
if you get out of the resort area, you know, I mean, it's kind of like Mexico or something. But
Thought I was
yeah,
gonna
it's
die.
beautiful.
I'm
It's
going
like
back.
it's in the Caribbean. It's a Caribbean island. So,
Okay.
yeah.
And you want to go back. So you kind of, the reason I asked that question, you talk about fly fishing and then parents going on a cruise. Are you an island warm weather guy or mountain fishing, hunting kind of like, sounds like a little bit of both maybe.
Um, yeah, a little bit of both. Man, now I don't know. I'll just take the warmth, man. I'll just take the beach.
Okay. That's fair. And honestly, it's January. So we're all thinking of, I think
Yeah.
warm vibes at this point. I think we're all kind of there, even though it's been, kind of mild this year. So give me one racer that you race around.
Mhm.
I want to. This is gonna be two parter.
Yep.
Someone you hate racing around, not for personal or
Is this a
whatever. Someone.
person that I hate racing?
A person you hate racing and a person you love racing around.
Oh man, I gotta say their names too.
Well,
Well,
it's not
no.
because you dislike them. It's just that they're hard to pass. It's they make their cars 3 times wider, and it's just hard to get around. Like a Ryan Newman, right? Like, man, I struggle getting around this person, or I can never finish ahead of them. And then somebody you just love racing with and against.
Man, neither of them are going to be in a bad way. Person I hate racing against because they're just fast and hard to get around. I guess Freddie Raymer. I think every driver would say that. Person I like racing against, I don't know. Man, that's a tough question. I'd say like someone like Troy Wagaman Jr. or something. I mean, he's really clean. So
Yeah, I think the Freddie thing is like he's has that aggressiveness, and for the most part can kind of like make it work. So
yeah.
I'd imagine it's hard to get by him because he's going to fight you for every inch of it, and then
Mhm.
you may not see him coming, and he's just there at times where you don't expect it to be. Maybe
But
I
yeah,
think
don't get that wrong. I said that. I mean, me and
no,
little Freddie had a spurt once, but great kid. So I'll just put that out there right now. Freddie's a good kid. So,
yeah.
but I do
Have
like
you ever have you ever been in a fight on the track?
no.
Hey
You
man,
want
there's a
to?
first for everything.
Yeah.
Listen, I'm there with you, my guy. Hey, I appreciate it, Chris. Any questions before we get him out of here?
No, I don't think so. I think I think you covered a lot of them. I got all the stuff that I
Uh,
would usually ask covered. We
Chris
don't
just
have
sits there and
Jimmy,
listens. He gets
Hey,
to
it
well,
learn. He's
was
following
a fun.
along.
This
right,
is probably like the smoothest interview I've been in. So it was fun.
right. Usually I have like Jimmy to kind of feed off of, but I'm doing both jobs tonight, so I'm like watching stuff. But yeah, you did.
All
It was
good.
great.
No, man, we appreciate it. We're kind of new at this, so we're kind of getting going, and we want to bring in, you know, it's easy to say, hey, yeah, we wouldn't interview all the top guys in the sport, but they
Yeah.
get interviewed all the time. They get asked for these things all the
Yeah. I
time,
feel
and
like you almost need to interview like man. I don't know, just
I,
anybody.
I
you
think the
guys are
cool thing,
supporting the you guys are
Yeah.
supporting these tracks. I
Yeah,
mean,
interview
guys
everyone.
like the guys that
and
we've
the
talked to so far. I mean, you think about the guys, the crew and the time and the races you show up and the pit gate money and the time invested that you guys could use all the support you can get, whether that's people, that's help, that's the dollars, the funding. That's who we want to have that story out there for because who knows who might watch. I
right,
mean, hopefully we're getting people to watch this
right,
thing that could
and
help you guys and be like, man, that's a good kid. He could use some help.
might get
That's
that
kind of what we
Thrustmaster
want.
sponsor.
Right. We want to
Um,
get a Thrustmaster sponsor, get him a new
um,
wheel.
and I think that the cool part from us,
Yeah.
and I hope it kind of goes out with to everybody else too. Like, I don't really know much about you, and learn a lot from this, and Jay Z with Michael Walter. But before that, we keep learning stuff, and it makes it really cool for us to do, and kind of put that out there for everybody else to maybe learn something too. Um, whoever was back and listens to it, I know Michael Walter said that he actually listened to the Jordan Givler interview and learned so much about him. So it's really cool to hear that stuff, and for us to be here asking these seemingly bizarre questions that are apparently hard, but so it's what we're interested in. So
Yeah, no, it's awesome. Thanks for doing it. Yeah.
Yeah, man. Hey, thanks some sponsors. Who helps you get up and down the road? I know there's some more names than other than Bollinger on that car. So who helps you out? Thank the parents too. I get it. Thank them. And who else
Yes.
helps you out?
Yes, I'll try and get everyone. There's some small people left and right that we know that help us out a little bit, just here or there, pit passes. But yeah, Bollinger Septic Services, man, my parents, I wouldn't be able to do this without them. Nasty Nate Racing, you guys probably know Nate from the races. Don Livingston Lawn Care, great guy. Gonna go out to eat with him here pretty soon. Oh man, Nationwide McIntyre, Jared McEwen Construction, JP Mascaro and Sons, Steve Weil, if you watch this, thank you for everything you've done for me. Man, Phoenix Industrial Complex. I think that's about it, man. I'm sure I'm missing somebody, and that they see us, they're going to be upset. But
Well, just remember who they were when you're in Victory Lane this year. Make sure you thank them. Whoever
yeah,
you missed, say, hey, we did an interview with Turn Two Terribles in January, and I missed these guys. So
yeah, yeah,
just shout all those sponsors out, but Turn
and
Two
then we
Terribles
will
too.
bring you back after that win, so you can make sure you get it right, get them
And
on next time.
and we'll bring all the beers.
All the
I'm in.
beers.
Chris, do
As
you
long-
go to Lincoln or not? I don't think I've ever met you there.
Yeah, I don't get to the pits as much as Jeremy. That's something that we're working on for this year. I go to Waiters Grove every Friday, so
Yeah,
I think I went to Lincoln a handful of times, more so the back half of the year, and um, I didn't really have a place in the pits, so I kind of stay away until the cars are done. This year, though, with this and where we're going with it, we're gonna definitely be in there more. I'll be sure to come down and find you.
yep. So you two hanging out at the racetrack. That's how you started the podcast.
Right, and our other buddy
Kind of.
Jimmy,
Chris
basically.
and Chris and Jimmy were kind of knew each other before I got to know them, and I met them through iRacing, through the
Right.
Posse League, the iRacing PA Posse League, and met them got those guys and um, George, who's the admin of that deal. I think what was the bet? Wasn't there a
Right.
speed?
So I actually met Jimmy first time at the Outlaw show, and the only reason Jeremy came to find us is because I owed him $20 for a Speed Week poll that he won, and then we kind of just kept racing, iRacing and stuff, and then last summer or last spring we kind of started this thing, and Jeremy stepped in a few times to help when we were in a pinch, and now we've kind of transitioned to a whole new thing that we're still learning and building off of.
Right. Yeah. Don't give up with it. Keep going with it. You can grow it and stream on YouTube and stuff.
Yeah, it's been a good time, and we put up these. You're actually live on YouTube right now. You're
Yep.
live on YouTube and Facebook, and then we restream these. We put them up in like split. We'll do just your interview, and we'll separate his, and we'll get them up on all the podcast platforms. So you'll be able to have yours just separate,
Right.
both on video platforms and just audio. So
Yeah.
it's been fun, and honestly, I had no idea that this was something that I could one be good at or two be interested in, and it's been so much fun. And honestly, like getting to know you guys this past season in the pits. Like I listen, man. Like I'm 40 years old. I'm an old guy at this point, but I look at you as a hero to me. Like, man, these guys get to drive freaking race cars on
Yeah.
weekends. Like, I'm just a fan of the sport, and like wasn't ever even the photography thing. Like Kyle Keene pushed me to that. Like I did iRacing pictures. Like I'm not talented. I don't know what I'm doing, but like he's like, man, I think you could have a good eye for this thing, and he's the one that kind of pushed me into the photography thing. And I went to, I don't know, I told these guys, me 30 or 40 races last year. I bought a pit pass in every single one of them. And that's just to kind of walk around, say hi, man, like, hey, check this picture out, man. You might like this thing, in time trials, see what your car is doing. Like I'm not interested in selling the things. I want you guys to see them so you enjoy them and you get to see what your car is doing. And I think I heard that more feedback up and down the pits of like, hey man, check this out.
It helps because like that picture you put up as a preview before I came on, to me, that's a picture of a bad handling race car. The picture you put up on there. Yep.
That's a bad handling race car.
Yeah. To me, the stature's just off. Yep.
Like, and that's hot laps. That's
Yep.
definitely a hot lap picture to me. Like those pictures are, I never know what I'm looking at, especially in hot laps because it's slimy, it's greasy, it's also could be fast, but I don't know. I'm glad you see that because I don't. I think that looks pretty badass to me. It doesn't look overly out
No, it
sideways.
looks
Doesn't
cool.
look
Yeah.
tight.
What we're learning though, Jeremy, is everything that you like in your pictures is terrible for going fast.
Hey, but if they learn something, that's all that matters. Like these guys. Like I want to ask you a question, Aaron. Actually, I noticed your car more often than not. You like the wing down, forward, and not flat per se, but height down. Is that something that you've taken notice to that yours? Like I see that more often than not than your car than a lot of other cars. Is that something you've just been? I don't know. I think I see more
I understand
diversity.
what
Do you know what I'm saying?
I understand exactly what you're saying. I think a lot of that actually is because the top wing posts that I run, I don't cut. A lot of guys cut them, shorten them out to try and. You're saying my top wing's probably a little higher than most, is what you're saying?
No, I think it feels like it's down, and it might be an optical illusion. I feel like it's down
Right.
closer to the body than a lot of cars where I see, even in hot lap, sometimes they're up a little bit. Like I can see more of the driver,
Hmm.
and it could be an optical illusion, but I feel like
I don't
yours
know.
is always kind of like down on top of you.
Yeah. Yeah. See, I don't know because like I kind of want to. A lot of guys I know trim their top post a little bit, kind of gets the wing down, the top wing down a little bit. But yeah, I don't know.
And we're gonna have to do some measuring. I'm bringing tape measure
Take
to the
more
pits this year.
pictures.
I'm gonna find
Take
out.
pictures.
Take more pictures. That's the only solution I got. So no,
It
man,
could
thank
be
you.
a lot of that could be the Titan wings. Maybe it's a different wing than some guys, and one side droops lower than some guys building them. I don't know.
Awesome. Oh, well, we're gonna find that out this year. Chris. That's your project for the year is to figure out why it looks like it's down lower when it might not be.
All right, I'll make sure to do that. Easy enough.
Hey, like if you look at Kreitz's car.
No, don't look at that. That is that's an anomaly. Nothing on that makes any sense. Okay, in comparing to
But his
anyone
top
else.
wing is definitely different than everybody else.
Yes,
100% in every way.
Half the time it looks like it's up in the air, facing the wrong direction. Like I don't
But
get
it goes, man.
It
that
goes
thing,
fast
they
as
know
hell.
what they're doing.
Yeah. Anyway, Awesome. Aaron, thanks, dude. Appreciate your time. Looking forward to seeing you. Hopefully on iRacing, maybe, if not, sometime this spring
Yeah, I
at the
gotta get a new
racetrack.
wheel here. So
All right, thank you, Aaron. I'll meet you hopefully here soon.
yeah, stop by, say hi. Good interview, guys. Thanks for having me on.
Appreciate it, buddy. Thanks. Take care.
Thanks. All right,
Chris,
JZ.
did you have any fun there, bud? That was cool.
Yeah, that was tons of fun. Tons of fun.
All
Good
right.
stories. I think it was Mike Walters. Really cool stories. Aaron got to learn a lot. Someone kind of like the opposite of you, didn't know anything about him coming into this. So that was really cool. Really cool.
I realized I knew less about Aaron than I thought I did, for sure. And, I think very different ways of going about it. I mean, I think we've seen that, not comparing guests, but that's all we have. But I
Right.
think it's been very different paths with, Mike's family very involved in racing. Aaron's was kind of like, well, not really, but that's kind of cool.
Right. It was
Which
unique
again,
because that's one of the first guys that we've talked to that didn't grow up around race cars and racing per se. Um, Everyone else we've talked to has kind of grown up in the business and things like that. So it was really a unique perspective from almost like an outsider that became an insider.
yeah, for sure. Looking forward to seeing both those guys this year, no matter where they end up. And the more time goes on, the more I guess I got to get Sealands Grove this year. I guess that's going to have to happen. So I'm going to have to be traveling north a little bit more this year for myself. So, hey, man, everybody listen in, subscribe, follow along, shout us out on who you want to see on the show. We're always open to suggestions. We are going to have a banger next week, and I feel like every week is like just builds on each other, and that might make Kyle and Brett feel crappy because episode 1 with them was like the one. But when I say it gets better each week, they're going to feel like really low in the totem pole. So I guess we'll have to have them come back and talk about Kyle Keene. His debuted his paint scheme today. Put that not David, but put that out on social media. So if y'all haven't seen that, Kyle Keene Motorsports, go check out his new scheme. If you are a historian of the sport or you like anything about the history of the Keene Motorsports 17, you're going to want to go see that thing.
Yeah,
So check
definitely
that out.
a sweet looking piece. Can't wait
It
to
is
see it on
for
the
sure.
track this year. What else? Any closing thoughts?
No,
Thursday.
man. Good to go.
Thursday, we'll release the next guest.
Oh, Thursday, Friday, something like that.
Something
I mean,
like that. Check out the
they're
socials.
yeah, like yeah, that's going to be a good time.
It's gonna be a really good time.
Looking forward to it. Hey, thanks everybody for tuning in. Again, shout out Jimmy. Thinking of you, buddy. Look forward to seeing you back next week.
Sure. All right. Have a good night, guys.
Take care.